I hit Ultimate Grandmaster with Ingrid, and I want to share some of the tips that helped me get good with Ingrid. And we got 11 of them today, starting with tip number 1, which is understanding just how strong this lay fireball is. In fact, I think a lot of Ingrid's matchups are really dependent on, can they deal with lay fireball? Do they have something projectile invincible to deal with this? Because this string, especially when it's like spaced like this at like this round start range, is very, very strong. So it doesn't actually tell you the frame advantage, but it's very, very high. Enough so that if I do a fireball and then I throw another fireball, they actually can't jump this string. So here's kind of what I'm talking about, right? So at this range, oh shit, let me see if I can get where you block this fireball. You see how you can basically safely set up a second fireball. And even if I like jump before the first fireball comes out, you see how this jab whiffs, which means you can actually like anti-air after. You can't, it's kind of hard to show in train mode, but this spacing is really strong, right? And so if you can condition them not to jump, it means you can start to do stuff like this and get free stocks. So this fireball is honestly quite strong. The other thing that makes it strong compared to a character like Aki is that your anti-air is frame 1 invul, which means unlike Aki, where if you do this, you might actually get hit out of the startup. Jumping on Ingrid can be a little harder because she actually has this frame 1 invul, 4 go circle forward. So if you want to, like, the most basic tip with this character is get really good with fireball and get really good with this anti-air. And anytime you're blocking a jump in, it means you probably could have done core circle light kick. It's very strong. There's also some other ways people will start to like kind of deal with this, right? And it's important to understand like when to use which option after the fireball. So if you think they're gonna like just sit there, obviously stock is pretty good. If you want to be aggressive, like you can just drive rush after, and a throw, you know, you can get a throw, you can get a stand heavy kick, but just getting this fireball out is really important. If they like the parry a lot, you can do this heavy version. Heavy version is good if they like start to jump a lot because they'll just like preemptively hit them out. They could drive rush under, so you have to be a little careful. But if you notice they're parry happy, you can drive rush and throw them as well. And even just, you can set this up after like a lot of knockdowns. So if I just do like MK spin and then I do this fireball, you see you're at that perfect range, but only if they back roll. If they recover in place, I actually think recovery in place is pretty strong against Ingrid. You see you don't really get quite the same amount of frame advantage. Second tip is, all right, we need to maximize this reward, which means this will piss them off. This will make them want to jump at you. When you hit this, you can go for a stock, right? It's technically unsafe if your opponent's good, but I mean, realistically, most people aren't going to punish you. What most people go for here is actually drive rush, and in particular, drive rush stand heavy kick is a really good option. And you have 3 different options you can rotate after this, right? You can do drive rush. If it hits, you go drive rush, stand heavy kick into spin. You can do and on block, drive rush, stand heavy kick. You can go low, it catches people walking back, catches people mashing. Stand heavy kick into throw, catches people mashing, catches people just blocking, right? Or you can go stand heavy kick into shimmy. And you know, shimmy with whatever you want. You can do medium kick, you can do heavy punch if you have good reactions. Understanding that like basically off any knockdown you get, whether it's medium spin, whether it's this core circle forward light kick, whether it's even something like this, even these teleports, right? After all these knockdowns, you can get this drive rush stand heavy kick, and it's very, very good to implement. And if they ever, for whatever reason, like just abuse parry too much, you can throw them. If they DP too much, you know, just back off and go for the shimmy. But you want to convert the zoning to offense, because while you can't just permanently zone, offense is really strong in this game, and it's important to go for it. Third is teleport abuse is really good. There's a couple things. One, teleport's guaranteed unless they perfect parry. If you throw this fireball from like the spacing trap we're talking about, right? If you're right around this range or further back, this teleport is guaranteed. You're +2 on block, which means that you can do the same mix up after stand heavy kick, right? You can go low, you can throw, you can shimmy. Even just in neutral, this is really strong because like how it all depends on how your opponent is dealing with the teleport. are they reacting with core circle light forward light kick, right? Because you can do this. See, you know, I can react with core circle forward light kick or a DP or something like that. However, it's not actually as good as you think, because you could do something like this. So here, I'm gonna react to the teleport. I just get hit. So there's not actually the only one size catch fits all option is you press jab and then you do an anti-air reversal, or you go for perfect parry on reaction. And both of those are, yeah, they're pretty tough. And so you want to make sure the opponent's actually doing it, right? So for example, if I try to go for like jab and then anti-air, this works. Sometimes you might see this though, right? If they ever float and give you a forced knockdown, that means if they do that same timing against this version, chances are you're getting counter hit, right? Because this forward kick move is actually quicker than the down teleport, right? So learn how your opponent's dealing with teleport and try to sneak it in, because it's really strong, and you might just like randomly clip like a fireball, or you might just, you know, get in for free, right? If they're not paying attention. And it's all about the mental stack of this character, because something like this is pretty easy to deal with. Even with fireball, if you're only doing fireball, I could drive impact fireball on reaction. It's 49 frames, which means I have 23 frames to react to like fireball of DI. The only reason it's good, and the only reason teleport's good, is because if you're Ingrid has so many different options you can mix up, that doing the fireball, doing the teleport, doing the fireball, doing your normals, it makes it a lot trickier to deal with. Tip number 4, I call this the 2 stock rule. So if you watch a lot of Japanese players, what they actually do after a lot of these knockdowns, that they know they can get a stock. So for example, let's just say I hit a driver stand heavy kick and I go for this. How do you know when to go in or back off? Usually most players stock up until they hit 2. 2 is the most important number because it allows for a lot of different things, right? So here's my combo after a button into, like if I just do one beam, right? I can get this. If I do button into beam, you know, I can get, I forget what the combo is here. I don't really go for this. You get something like that. 24-41, nothing amazing, right? Most people actually just go for this. Yeah, 2750. Pretty good, right? Here's what this looks like at 2-bar. You have to delay the drive rush a little bit. So it is a little tricky. It's just something I actually just started implementing. So it did about 1,000 more, and you get a stock. Which is very, very good economy-wise, right? Another place where 2-bar is really important is this forward heavy punch. Forward heavy punch in the EX beam, don't get anything. Forward heavy punch into 2 stock EX beam, get the same combo. 4,261. If you're near the corner, you go into the medium beam and then you stock up and you're still plus. Very, very good. Also enables the best level 2 setups because level 2 uses up 2 stocks. You know, EX beam confirms in the corner. You can just buffer, you know, buffer EX beam behind something like this or this or this. It's really strong. So anyways, a lot of people, because of that, they prioritize getting 2 stocks ASAP. And then let's say I have 2 stocks and I hit like a random like hit. Then I'll go in and I'll use that for like the next hit, right? So try to play around 2 stocks. It's really important. That being said, you can still, you know, you can still throw a random EX laser, especially late in the round. This is obviously really strong. 2 stock EX laser is, you know, obviously a lot better. You know, you still want to use 1 stock, but generally the way I approach it, as unless they're low health, try to go for a stock on the knockdown. All right, tip number 5. Make sure to pick the right Ingrid. Yes, outfit 2. So it's classier. Yes, make sure you pick this costume. All the top Ingrids use it. Okay, anyways, tip number 6, level 2. So level 2 looks really cool. There's a lot of cool setups. To be honest, if you are anywhere below like 1700, 1800, I would not bother learning anything crazy of level 2. The main thing you want to know with level 2 is, one, how to cash out, right? This is baby's first level 2 guide. Stand heavy kick into level 2 is really good. If you hold the H, if you do H, it delays the activation. This is usually what I try to do, is H. And then if you do stand medium kick and medium spin, stock up, and then you can do enter your choice, right? Usually enter your choice is like you try to time heavy kick spin. Sometimes I don't like to go for that match. I'll just do late DP. And depending on how many stocks you have, it means you can stock up more, right? I'm only doing that, only doing that if it's gonna kill with 2-bar, right? Very rarely I need a 2-bar kill. Oftentimes where I'll activate it is they're low health and maybe it's last round or something, and you activate this like this, right? This is a basic strike throw shimmy, depending on what you think they do. I like the default shimmy because a lot of people like the drive reversal this. They like the DP, they panic, right? That being said, throw is also really strong because throw is auto timed after stand heavy kick. And you know, that did 3,500, which is really good. And there's way more optimal combos you can do there, right? So I recommend just getting those as the basics. And then, you know, after a while, you can learn like some really, really cool tech. But there's more important things to learn than like crazy level 2 steps, in my opinion. All right, tip number 7. All of her buttons are actually good. It's kind of hard to distinguish between when to use each button. I think if I had to say which button is the best, honestly, it's pretty tough. I personally think stand heavy kick or heavy punch is the best, but they all have some uses, right? So stand heavy kick, best reward, and it's only -2 on block, which means you can sometimes take your turn back with jab. You can take your turn back with parry. Even though it's close, I probably use stand heavy kick the most because if you can get the timing on their button, I mean, even if they don't block, right, you get 2K, right? Stand heavy punch. If you're really good at whiff punishing, and I mean really good because this is the slowest button you have. Yes, 9 frames, 8 frames. You get the best reward from this, right? This combo, very, very strong because it gives you a stock. And you get Oki. Getting stock plus Oki is very rare for this character, right? But it's good for a whiff punish. It's also good to like if you're doing a spacing trap, for example. So like, for example, I do something like this. This puts you -4 here. They might not press back with the right button. I'll spacing trap with heavy punch. If it hits, you know, you get a punish counter, you get that combo. It's very nice. Back medium kick I think is really good because you can somewhat hit confirm. It's not like truly, like if I put the dummy on random guard, I'm not hit confirming this, right? Yeah, it's impossible. But you can kind of like buffer it, and if you see them walk into it, then you can like, you know, dial this in, and you get a free stock afterwards, right? Which is really good. Crouch heavy punch buffered into beam is really good. Buffering the EX beam is also really good. This also has a lot of range. It's just kind of laggy on whiff. But this is gapless, which makes it really nice. So you can just like kind of safely fish for a knockdown with this move. When to use what? I mean, the thing is, if they're really good at whiff punishing, then use this because this is basically impossible to whiff punish unless they like really are woke or they're just auto timing shit. This 5 frames laggier moves you forward a lot easier to whiff punish, but you know, it's better reward and it's safer on block, right? Heavy punch, use the whiff punish, heavy kick, do this, and then you have stand medium kick too, which again, this is like less committal. I usually only do this as driver's check, or if I need, like, I have a EX beam buffer, and then, you know, crouch medium kick if they're walking back. There's a lot of buttons. They're really good. Make sure you use them. Okay, now tip number 8, 9, I'm losing track, is, we'll call it tip number 9 at this point. I think it's really important to learn delay buttons with this character. I mean, every character you need to get used to delay buttons, but I find myself delaying buttons a lot. So for example, like if you make them block stand heavy kick, what I'll do sometimes is I'll do a delayed jab. So that like, as you can see, like if it whiffs, or you press, the jab still comes out. But if I press, you see how they block? And why this is useful is like if I go for something slower, or I go for like a delay, this will actually catch. And like, let's say I try to go for like a walk-up throw, I'll get counter hit. So I think delay buttons is actually really important with this character. I'm sure there's guides out there that talk about this, but I find myself having to use these kind of delays a lot because she has a lot of things that are just like kind of like slightly minus in this range that you want to do. But the easiest to implement is like just try doing delay jab after stand heavy kick. It's pretty good. All right, let's talk about a few setups and stuff. So block string pressure, this is pretty cheap. You can jump it, but if they don't know ball and they just like try to mash, you're gonna make people really miserable. I like this one. EX beam's also minus. This also catches mash. You can do something like block string and EX beam. It's gonna work. So try to do these frequently, I guess. A couple other setups I like. After forward throw in the corner, you throw the light fireball, and it's kind of like a throw loop of layers. There are ways to get out of this, so just be aware. Even if they jump, you can anti-air, but still it's pretty good. I like to toss that in once in a while. If you do medium spin, there's a couple setups. People like to do this setup where you whiff a crouch late and you do the overhead. It's pretty good, and you get a combo off the overhead. You can do like crouch jab, EX spin, and EX spin safe on block. Another thing I like personally is this back medium kick into stand medium punch, and then you can like, I call this the infinite, but like then you can start this like plus on block fireball guessing games, right? I also like this setup too. If I'm like point blank in the corner, I try to go for this medium beam in the corner and then immediate fireball. This beats DPs, this beats supers, this basically beats everything. Even if they perfect parry, you're plus. Very, very strong. And that's mostly it. Sometimes you can like sneak, you can do like teleports and block strings. This is kind of cute. I play around with that. My last tip is don't be afraid to drill. I think drills are always important for every character. A drill I've been working on recently is confirming this. I'd say that your average like diamond or low master Ingrid will just send the beam and then even on block, right? So what you can do is you put the dummy on random guard, beam, and then only on hit go into the teleport. On block, do nothing. Or better, on block, oh my god, on block, go into a fireball and use that frame advantage to the best. And see, like if I'm trying to do fireball or beam, even I'm not like I can't do it like immediately. And I've been practicing this for like quite a bit. You see, there's like a little delay before I actually throw that fireball out. So yeah, obviously this is important. If you're not even like, if you're below 1500, make sure you drill the anti-airs. Make sure you drill your DI reactions because people are gonna spam that shit against you. Stand heavy kick, hit confirm is really important. Random counter hit, random block, and make sure that you always confirm the situation, right? So on counter hit, well, I mean on regular hit, it's medium that in the spin. And on counter hit, you actually get target combo, so you actually get a bit more damage there. And same thing on punch counter. So I think that's pretty important too. All right, let me know what you guys think about Ingrid. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like playing zoners. I don't like her playstyle. I'm done playing her. If you want more Ingrid content, I don't know, you gotta pay me a shit ton. But like, share, subscribe, I guess. I'll be covering more Street Fighter. All right, take care. Peace.